The Honourable Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Cabinet Ministers and Assistant Ministers, the Honourable Leader of Opposition, Honourable Members of Parliament. I rise in this August House to lend my support to the motion by the Honourable Prime Minister to thank His Excellency the President for his most gracious address at the opening of the 2025 parliamentary year on Monday, 24th February 2025. His words challenge us to lead with integrity, unity and resilience as we work together for the progress and betterment of our beloved Fiji. Mr. Speaker, sir, our collective resilience as a nation depends on our ability to work together. The President's call for unity and transformational leadership is a timely reminder that we must set aside our differences and focus on our shared vision for Fiji. The Ministry of Rural and Maritime Development and Disaster Management remains committed to working hand in hand with all stakeholders, government agencies, provincial councils, non-government organizations, religious organizations, development partners and community leaders to drive progress in rural and maritime communities. We strongly believe that by working together, we will turn challenges into opportunities, ensuring that no one is left behind. Mr. Speaker, sir, I note with appreciation the announcement made by His Excellency about government's proposed legislative agenda, policies and programs for this year. This marks a crucial step forward in our nation's progress and development. Mr. Speaker, sir, I acknowledge His Excellency's emphasis on strengthening integrity and accountability in public office. Long overdue implementation of the Code of Conduct is an important step in ensuring transparency, ethical governance, and public trust in our institutions. As leaders, we must uphold the highest standards of integrity and be accountable for our actions. A strong accountability framework will not only reinforce confidence in public service, but also promote a culture of responsibility and good governance, which is essential for national development. Mr. Speaker, sir, I fully support the call for responsible leadership and the need for unity in our national discourse. It is disappointing to this day to still witness some members of Parliament blatantly disregarding the laws in place and using social media as a platform to gain political mileage rather than promoting constructive discussions. Leadership comes with responsibility, and we must hold ourselves to the highest standards, ensuring that the information we share is accurate, factual, and serves the common good. Social media should be used as a tool to inform, educate, and unite our people, rather than to mislead, divide, or create unnecessary tensions within our communities, as some honourable members of the other side are fond of doing. Mr. Speaker, sir, as leaders, we must lead by example and demonstrate integrity in all that we do. This means setting aside personal and political interests and focusing on the broader goal of national development. Our people look to us for guidance and reassurance, especially in times of uncertainty. We must not betray that trust by engaging in reckless and inflammatory rhetoric in the pursuit of political point scoring that only serves to weaken our democracy. Instead, we must embrace dialogue, inclusivity, and transformational leadership to bring about positive change. Mr. Speaker, sir, His Excellency has rightly emphasized economic growth, national security, and sustainable development as fundamental pillars of our national agenda. As Minister responsible for rural and maritime development and disaster management, I reaffirm our commitment to ensuring that development reaches the most remote and most vulnerable communities. Our rural and maritime regions are the backbone of Fiji's economy, rich in natural resources and cultural heritage. However, they continue to face infrastructure gaps, climate vulnerabilities, and economic disparities. To address these, the Ministry is prioritizing the following areas. 1, infrastructure development, strengthening rural roads, jetties, and energy supply systems to enhance connectivity and productivity. 2, water and sanitation access, expanding access to clean water and improving sanitation facilities, ensuring that all Fijians enjoy basic human rights. The third one, Mr. Speaker, sir, digital transformation, expanding digital access in rural areas to bridge the technological divide and enhance economic opportunities, to name a few. Mr. Speaker, sir, the President's call for inclusivity, sustainability, and resilience resonates deeply within our Ministry's core mission to empower rural and maritime communities, strengthen disaster preparedness, and build a Fiji that is safer, more prosperous, and better equipped to withstand future challenges. Mr. Speaker, sir, our commitment to ensuring inclusive development aligns with His Excellency's vision of a nation where every citizen has an opportunity to succeed. We recognize that rural and maritime communities face unique challenges, including limited infrastructure, access to essential services, and economic opportunities. And to address this, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are accelerating investment in rural infrastructure, improving roads, bridges, and water supply systems to enhance connectivity and access to essential services, especially for our rural Fijians. Through strategic partnerships with government agencies and development partners, we will continue to implement projects that provide sustainable livelihoods, increase food security, and empower our people. Mr. Speaker, sir, for the current financial year, one of the highlights of the Ministry's program in terms of enabling access for our rural communities is the groundbreaking of the Salian Rao Bridge. As we witnessed last month, the joy of the people of Salian Rao and surrounding villages in the interior of Namosi on the momentous occasion when they realized that one of their long-held wishes of having a river crossing to their village was finally coming to fruition to ease their travel and access to other essential services. In a few months' time, no longer will the school children and the elderly have to wade across the chilly waters of the Wainkoroi-Luba River in the mornings or the evenings when they return. I must acknowledge the support of the government of Japan in joining the government of Fiji in committing to and implementing this most worthy project. In addition, the Ministry is now working on almost 50 projects to utilize the $2 million allocation for our community access road, footpaths, and footbridges program for the current financial year. Furthermore, the Ministry is also working on completing 34 projects with a total funding of $3 million in this current financial year under its Rural and Out Island program. This program includes farm road access and land clearing for agricultural purposes, granting farm implements and food processing equipment, providing market access, as well as helping provide and maintaining an incubating function for our rural farmers to ensure that they can thrive throughout the value chain process in the future and achieve self-sufficiency. Mr. Speaker, sir, as for rural water and sanitation programs, the Ministry continues to receive an annual budget of $1 million to assist our rural communities having access to clean and safe drinking water and the construction of better sanitation facilities. For the current financial year, the Ministry is working on completing 11 water and 11 sanitation projects across 4 divisions. The sanitation projects include ablution blocks for individuals and communities, and even a school and trading center along the Kings Road that is a transit point for travelers and a local women who sell their produce alongside an existing supermarket. Our Ministry complements programs provided by other agencies to achieve our common goals for the benefit of our people. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Ministry is also prioritizing its officers in rural and maritime areas with progressive installation of Starlink communication equipment before the end of the current financial year. The district officers in Rotuma, Tukavesi, and Sangani in the Konrove, Lukutu and Kumbula in Bua, Kavala in Kandavu, Koro in Lomaiviti, Namara in Ra, Danda in Namosi, and Nandaribatu in Ba will finally manage to access the internet in their offices. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, we must acknowledge the support of the United Nations Development Programme Governance for Resilience, or UNDP Gov4S, project for providing this funding support to assist the Ministry in improving our communication network in the rural remote areas, particularly during disaster operations. Mr. Speaker, sir, as His Excellency emphasized, good governance and transparency are critical to our nation-building process. The Ministry of Rural and Disaster Management is committed to strengthening governance structures, ensuring that resources allocated for rural development are utilized efficiently, equitably, and effectively. We will continue our efforts to decentralize service delivery, empowering our divisional commissioners and district officers to respond effectively to community needs. We will also enhance community participation in decision-making processes, ensuring that policies reflect the realities faced by our rural communities. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am thankful that the Honourable Leader of Opposition has realized that the civil service training and exams that seems to have been discontinued during that time in government should be brought back. Our honourable members on the other side should be reassured that this was recognized earlier on by this side of the House, as now in train will be implemented shortly. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, sir, Fiji is no stranger to climate-induced disasters, as emphasized by His Excellency. Our rural and maritime communities are among the most vulnerable to cyclones, rising sea levels, and extreme weather events. And And to help address this issue, the Ministry is strengthening the implementation of the Integrated Rural Development Framework, or IRDF, to ensure that all development initiatives are risk-informed and sustainable over time. Mr. Speaker, sir, we continue to work closely with the Fiji Meteorological Services, National Disaster Risk Management Office, and our regional and international partners to enhance early warning systems, improve disaster preparedness at the community level, and strengthen our response and recovery efforts. Our goal is not just to rebuild after disasters, but to build back stronger, better, and more resilient. In addition, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Ministry is required to work very closely with the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change under the ambit of the standard operating procedures for planned relocation for the country. The Ministry of Rural and Maritime Development and Disaster Management, as the lead agency for the implementation of the SOP, is determined to ensure that this is performed efficiently and effectively, noting that relocation will be the last resort for vulnerable communities due to the complex issues associated with displacement, especially when it is a permanent one. Mr. Speaker, sir, while there is progress in the relocation project for the village of Nambabatu in Riketi, the construction of the 37 houses had been slightly delayed by the recent tropical cyclone Ray. This will begin tomorrow as the first pouring of the columns start. Mr. Speaker, sir, we firmly believe that community resilience starts with empowerment. Our ministry is intensifying efforts to strengthen community-based disaster risk reduction initiatives. Through targeted training programs, we are equipping local leaders and community members with the knowledge and skills to respond effectively to disasters. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, sir, we continue to prioritize the pre-positioning of emergency supplies in high-risk areas, ensuring swift response and support to affected communities when disasters strike. Our collaboration with civil society organizations, the private sector, and faith-based groups is vital in reinforcing the whole-of-society approach to disaster management. For the current financial year, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Ministry was allocated a $1 million budget for the retrofitting of 20 existing evacuation centers and construction of two new evacuation centers, or ECs. This is in addition to the construction of 4 newly built and 4 retrofit ECs with a budget of $12 million under a project that is funded by the Korea International Cooperation Agency, or KOICA, and implemented by the International Organization for Migration, or IOM. The Ministry will be building a multi-purpose evacuation center in each of Fiji's 4 divisions and similarly retrofit ECs to meet humanitarian standards. The Ministry has already retrofitted an EC in Yabusania 90, and work is ongoing across all 4 divisions. Mr. Speaker, sir, under the Rural Housing Assistance Program, there is assistance for retrofitting of rural and maritime houses in addition to construction of new houses or completion of existing houses, assistance for our senior citizens, and even cartage of materials to the maritime islands. A budget of $3 million allocated to for the current financial year is being utilized for 143 projects across the 4 divisions. Mr. Speaker, sir, the renewed emphasis on rural and outer island development reflects our commitment to ensuring that no Fijian is left behind. The review of the Integrated Rural Development Framework and the formulation of the National Rural Development Policy to uplift rural households and improve access to essential services cannot come at a much better time. The review work is already underway, and the Ministry acknowledges the support it has received so far from stakeholders in the consultation that have already taken place across the country. It would then be remiss of me, Mr. Speaker, sir, not to acknowledge the continued support the Ministry is receiving from the UNDP Gulf Forest Project towards these important activities for the Ministry. There's been a lot of statements made about the whole-of-government approach in various initiatives across the public sector. I must highlight here that the IRDF is essentially institutionalizing the whole-of-government integrated approach given the limitation of resources, given the limitation of the current 2013 Constitution, and ensure that planning allocation of resources is better coordinated, integrated, and holistically managed by all the government agencies, and thus should lead to an improvement in the quality of public service delivery in the rural areas. I fully support the government's commitment to prioritizing healthcare and education, Mr. Speaker, sir, as these are two fundamental pillars of national development. Expanding access to quality medical services and modernizing healthcare facilities is a fundamental objective for our rural and maritime community development, where distance and limited resources is always a challenge. As Minister for Rural and Maritime Development and Disaster Management, I will continue to work closely with relevant ministries to ensure that quality healthcare improvements must extend beyond urban centers, reaching those in remote areas who need them most. Mr. Speaker, sir, the rising prevalence of HIV in Fiji is a grave concern that must be addressed with urgency, as it threatens the health and well-being of our people, particularly our youth age group. And HIV is not just a health issue. It is a societal challenge that requires collective response from all sectors. It is everyone's concern, whether we live in the bustling urban centers or in the most remote rural areas and maritime islands. And as a minister responsible for rural and maritime development, I am particularly concerned about the growing intersection between HIV transmission and the use of illicit drugs, which is becoming increasingly prevalent among our young people, even in rural and maritime communities. And drug use by our young people, particularly the sharing of needles, significantly increases the risk of HIV transmission, and many of our communities lack the awareness and resources to adequately address this threat. The government's 90-day HIV outbreak response plan and the HIV surge strategy are timely interventions, and their success will depend on coordinated efforts from all stakeholders. We must ensure that awareness campaigns and healthcare services are not confined to urban areas, but reaches every village and island where misinformation, stigma, and lack of medical facilities makes the situation even more challenging. Mr. Speaker, sir, our ministry stands ready to work with the Ministry of Health, development partners, civil society, and faith-based organizations to ensure that no Fijian is really left behind in the fight against HIV and illicit drugs. This is a battle we cannot afford to lose, and we must act decisively and immediately. We must act now. Mr. Speaker, sir, I also commend the initiative to implement a rehabilitation and reintegration program for street kids and youth. My ministry is also committed to work with the relevant agencies on the implementation of this initiative. Mr. Speaker, sir, education is a foundation upon which our nation's future is built. And I fully support the government's commitment to enhancing our education system at all levels to meet the evolving demands of our globalized economy. For our rural and maritime communities, this review of the Education Act and related policies must ensure that education remains accessible, inclusive, and relevant to the realities of our people. Too often, students in remote areas face challenges such as limited access to qualified and experienced teachers, inadequate infrastructure, and a lack of digital learning facilities. The nationwide consultation process must give special attention to these communities to ensure that their voices are heard and their unique challenges addressed. I welcome the prioritization of TVET, or Technical and Vocational Education and Training, which will provide practical skills and employment opportunities for our youth. Many of our rural and maritime students may not be able to pursue the common academic qualification pathways, but through TVET, they can acquire the necessary skills that can contribute to the local economies and national development. Mr. Speaker, sir, the government's commitment to youth empowerment and sports development is critical to fostering a resilient and self-sufficient Fiji. The ministry strongly supports initiatives such as the mobile training programs, which will provide the much-needed technical and vocational skills to our rural and maritime youth, ensuring they have access to opportunities that can contribute to the improvement of their respective communities. A notable initiative is the investment in rural sports and sports tourism. Mr. Speaker, sir, this will bolster the commitment of this coalition government to recognize talents of young people in the rural and maritime communities. It will obviously be an incentive for young people to be occupied and remain in their communities instead of being attracted to the urban areas for reasons such as employment and tertiary education courses and others. It is public knowledge, Mr. Speaker, sir, that one of the challenges that derails development in bigger countries around the globe and impacts people's livelihoods is maintaining law and order. Mr. Speaker, sir, public safety and national security are fundamental to the well-being of citizens and sustainable development of our nation. I commend the government's commitment to strengthening law enforcement, modernizing our legal framework, and working closely with regional partners to combat transnational crimes such as drug smuggling and human trafficking. I would like to reiterate in this August House that our ministry stands ready to support these efforts in our bid to ensure that rural and maritime communities are not left behind in the pursuit of safer and a more secure Fiji. We live in a global community, Mr. Speaker, sir, that necessitates that we build stable relations to support each other. We recognize that broadening Fiji's trade and economic partnerships must be inclusive to ensure that rural and maritime communities also benefit from these advancements. The review of the trade policy framework must take into account the realities faced by resource owners in these areas, ensuring they have equal access to markets, receiving regulatory support, and sustainable financing opportunities. The endorsement of the e-commerce strategy 2024-2028 is particularly encouraging, Mr. Speaker, sir, as digital transformation can bridge the gap between urban centers and community and remote communities. In closing, Mr. Speaker, sir, I reaffirm my commitment, as I'm sure we all do, to serve with humility, integrity, and dedication. As the President graciously stated, leadership is not about holding power, but about empowering others. I urge us all to lead by example, making the necessary sacrifices and decisions that will uplift the lives of all Fijians. May God bless Fiji, and may we remain steadfast in our pursuit for a better Fiji for our generations to come. Thank you. Nasa Wali.